are narrative practitioners from Moscow. My name is Elena, this is Marat, and we are recently in Lisbon since the beginning of the war in Ukraine. So Marat, let's start with this question. What's your position on the war in Ukraine, and what are the responses of Russian-speaking narrative community on it?
Well, actually, it's quite a simple question, because at least for us, we're against the war, and when it all started, we were pretty terrified. But as you said, yeah, there are some responses in Russian-speaking narrative community. In Russia, in Moscow, it's really hard to say something out loud, like openly go on the streets, or even post something on social media, because otherwise you can get fined, or you can get into jail and so on. So there are some grassroots initiatives, some small gatherings. We now represent actually our fellowship called Krai, and some of our friends organized, for example, a series of meetings about how to speak with your relatives or close friends about peace. Because one of the first effects of that war was that families and friends was isolated from each other. There were a lot of conflicts in families, among friends, and so on. And so this initiative was aimed to reunite those people and to do something against propaganda, which is severe in Russian mass media. So maybe you can name some initiatives.
On the next day after the war started, we made this meeting online on Zoom, where we were speaking about we are against the war and what we can do, and what are the effects of the war on us and on us and our lives and lives of people who are connected to us. And by that point, we already had a psychological help service, which is free for all who is suffering from the effects of the war. And we and mostly our students who were taught narrative therapy in Krai are helping anyone who makes the request. So usually these are people from Russia, because this is one more difficult ethical point, that is it possible for people from Russia to help people from Ukraine, even if we are clearly against the war and against Putin? Maybe we still do not have this right to be in position of help to people from Ukraine because of our citizenship. I don't know. We also made some open lectures about history of pacifism in Soviet Union and Russia, and about the resistance of people. We have this 1 year teaching program of narrative practice, and when the war started, we were considering to stop it because it was impossible to imagine how can we continue like nothing happened. But then we decided to finish it, and it turned out to be really important to our students that this group was existing through all these hard times, and people were supporting each other and seeing each other. So I'm speaking about Krai mostly, but there are also some initiatives, some events from colleagues from another narrative programs. I know about a few events about trauma and community work, and also a lot of colleagues were offering free help, and also doing some usual politic works like going on meetings. Even it was dangerous. Lots of our colleagues who are in Russia, they were there. Can you maybe tell a little bit more about what is Krai we are speaking about, and how did it appear?
There were 7 persons that were interested in narrative practice, and they were interested in teaching. And we decided to form a group and create a teaching education program. And so it started from this, but then it started to grow. There were some new initiatives from those founders, but not only from them. So several people that were students of the first year, they're now doing some laboratories and workshops as well. And actually, we wanted to make this program not like psychologically centered. I think narrative practice was designed and in a way as anti-psychological, anti-individualistic approach. So that's very important for us, and we try to maintain this tradition in narrative practice. What do you think?
We wanted to focus on some political and ethical aspects, and maybe to try to make some environment for developing narrative practice in some new directions, because there are a lot of new beautiful philosophical ideas. Narrative therapy brings lots of inspiration from philosophy. We wanted to see how narrative therapy can transform and can move in new times. So we have a big part which is dedicated to the politics of therapy, and we have some lections or reading groups when we can discuss modern philosophical ideas or feminist or anthropologist texts and make it some collaborative research. I think it's a very spirit of narrative therapy.
We can tell a couple of words about the word itself, cry. What does it mean?
In English it sounds like no woman, no cry, but it's not that meaning. We were playing with this idea of center and periphery, and I was reading Borges and found that he named himself something like
philosopher of suburbs.
Yes, philosopher of margins, and on Russian it's like word with cry. So that's when we took this idea, and yes, it's something on the edge or something not in the center. This is cry. So would you like to add anything else important about cry?
Yeah, we try to make it political, philosophical, and fun. Actually, you started to collaborate with the reauthoring teaching project. Can you say a couple of words about this, and how do you feel about it? Mm-hmm. Why did you start it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I started because I asked for help, and it was some people who were offering me some help, like jobs, and I'm really grateful for the people, for the job itself, and for this attitude, because it's really hard times for us Russians as well. Sure, not so hard as for Ukrainians, but still, it is a big tragedy for me, and I feel a great support in the international narrative community now. These connections are very important for me. It's the first thing, and the second one was that at the moment I started, I felt that our project and our narrative community in Russia and Krai, we are all kind of isolated. I would like Krai to be more connected to international colleagues, but my hope is to exchange between these two teaching programs in a way which will be helpful for both. Maybe we can stop now. Would you like to add something?
No, thank you for the interview. Thank you for this conversation.
Yes, thank you as well.